welcome to Libertarian Counterpoint. I am James Just. Sitting with me today is Mr. Leon Brathwaite. Leon, tonight we're talking about actions having consequences and how many of our cities are, well, we'll call them, my notes here say liberal cities, but you know, the truth is it's Democrat cities. And I wouldn't even call them liberal. I call them progressive cities. Let's be, you know, and we're going to start with Portland's progressive heck hole. We're gonna I'll clean it up a little bit for our audience. Portland's liberal heck hole. Their crime is skyrocketing. Police response times are also skyrocketing, and this is kind of a direct result from this whole, you know, defund the police thing that we experienced, 3 years ago, where essentially, if you were a left-wing rioter, you were freely allowed to do what you want, and it seems to me that mindset has continued. Indeed. Right? Maybe they're no longer necessarily burning down stores, but they're looting them just the same, right? The consequences of the action is just the same. And, for those of us who have been sitting here, we've understood this discussion for a long time, right? We've been having this discussion for 3 years now. Quite literally 3 years
Without
now.
a doubt, yes.
Yeah, and, the summer of love has turned out to be the summer of destruction.
Or the hellhole of destruction. James, it's really kind of funny.
Yeah, you're good.
I don't think that I'm good.
Yeah,
it's really kind of funny, because what we are seeing, unfortunately, in society at large, this is part of a larger problem, okay, is that we are seeing that our government officials are into the mindset of where they are tolerating violence by certain sectors of society in the name of social justice. And then they're doing selective prosecutions of these people. And this is a real problem. This, your example here is Portland. The unfortunate thing about that statement is that this is going on all over the country, where elected officials, people who are there to enforce the law, are not doing that. And now we have this crime problem that's plaguing the nation. We have people like Alvin Bragg in New York, who is going after Donald Trump. That's fine. I mean, if he think that's his job, that's fine. But what about the rest of us? What about the rest of us who need the protection of the law, who need law enforcement to be out there doing the job, arresting people, and those people prosecuted when they commit crimes? And this is not happening. Portland is just one example of this, where people are looting and doing all sorts of things, and they are hardly ever prosecuted.
And from a libertarian perspective, we actually have a bit of sympathy from the perspective of that we've asked our police to do too many things. We're over-policing. But it's actually not over-policing. We are over-regulating. We're over-regulating the daily lives. And so, but, also from a libertarian perspective, one of the things we focus on is property rights and personal rights. Yes. Your rights to your property and your rights to your person. And when those are violated, as much as we dislike government, that is the one role of government that we believe it has some role in, right? Yeah. Some form of government has the role to protect your person and your property rights. Yeah. So you don't have to be the one to do it, because that creates vigilantism, right? And that's actually even more dangerous than what we're experiencing now. And so there it is, that balance. But again, we're talking now basic things about looting and stealing and, personal assaults and things that are your most basic fundamental rights of your property and your person. And that's what is being violated now. And there's those who are supposed to care don't. And that's that's fundamental
a big problem. And you're so right about, and you're right. We people who liberty-minded people, we want government to have a very limited role in our lives. But one of those roles that they must do in order for us to have a functioning society is that they must, like you said, they must protect property and protect person. They must do this. Otherwise, we don't have a society. But the unfortunate thing with these soft on crime policies, this is not happening. I mean, the police might be arresting these people. In most cases, they are. But the prosecutors are putting them back on the streets. They have this bail reform where no more cash bail and all these sort of things, and another social justice kind of thing, and they're putting these people back on the streets to commit crimes, and this is a real problem. But you see, this problem is part of that larger problem where you having this tolerance of violence by certain people in the name of social justice, and the selective persecution of certain people. And this is wrong. It's immoral if you really want to think about it, because either we're going to live under our constitutional constrictions, which said equal protection under the law, or we are not. And if we are not, we don't have a society anymore. It's a real problem.
Yeah, and like here in California, there's the economic devastation that comes with these kind of policies. And I think one of the things that we are doing is, when you watch the government, is they're much more likely to prosecute someone for a violation of policy than they are for a violation of person or property. And they will treat it much more seriously, rather than, you can burn down a store, a gas station, and essentially nothing happens, but you put a graffiti onto a government building and you will be prosecuted. You take a trip through the state capitol on the wrong day, even if you're personally peaceful, and you just kind of, everybody's going in, so you just kind of walk in with the crowd and you say, oh, this is kind of thing, and you walk out. They're still prosecuting people who actually did nothing but walk in and walk out.
That's true.
And yet, at the same time, there is, in Portland, we had the assaults on the federal courthouse.
Federal building, yes.
With people inside. They were trying to burn down a building with people inside. And here in California, restaurants are having these same problems. Restaurants say they're nearing extinction because of rampant lawlessness. But if you're not willing to prosecute those who violate these laws, then people like me aren't going to go to restaurants.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm reluctant to go to a restaurant anyway. I don't go out anyway. But if I'm worried about, okay, can I park my car without it getting broken into?
Right.
Can I walk the 4 blocks without having to, even if I'm not assaulted, without having my senses assaulted by yelling, screaming, and a bunch of drunk people, just kind of misbehaving, not necessarily causing me any personal problems, but they're creating an environment that I don't want to walk through.
Yeah.
And so why would I go? So I don't. I stay home, or I go. Or when I do go somewhere, I'm going to drive out someplace that has a kinder environment, shall we say?
Yeah.
And so we have this refusal to deal with this broken culture is having an economic impact. And in California, you have a right to earn a living, but can you earn a living if they're not going to have just your basic? We used to complain that they didn't fill potholes, but now they're not filling anything.
They're not filling the potholes, and they're not policing the places that they're supposed to police. But all of this speaks to the larger problem. I remember during the 2020 riots when BLM and Antifa was burning down our cities, we had a reporter on CNN telling us it was a fiery but mostly peaceful protest. Okay? So the role of the media and all of these things is very important. How they're presenting these things to us, the citizens, is vital and important. But they are really distorting what's going on out there. This particular reporter was standing here's the screen there, and below there, I have this one of these cretons or whatever they call it, saying fiery but mostly peaceful. In the back of the reporter, you're seeing buildings burning.
Buildings, cars, yeah.
Yes, and they're telling us it's fiery but mostly peaceful.
That's not peaceful.
Yeah, it's not.
By definition,
it's not.
Not peaceful.
And then to add insult to injury, Chris Comer, who was at the time working for CNN, was telling us, where does it say that protest has to be peaceful? Well, Chris, read the damn Constitution. Pardon my language. Read the Constitution. It says peaceably assemble. That's what it says. Nobody say you cannot protest. You must protest. I mean, I think that's a vital part of the exercise of our rights. But do it peacefully. You don't be burning down buildings. You don't be attacking federal buildings, trying to burn the building down with people inside of it. You don't do them kind of things. That's not protesting. That's rioting. And that's criminal.
And you know why it's so important? It's because the reason peaceful protesting is important is because when people want to protest you, you're going to want them to be peaceful as well.
Yes.
And,
yes. Of course.
and that's why peaceful protesting is so important,
Yes.
because we all have the right to protest.
Yes.
Which means people have the right to protest you, and you want them to be just as peaceful to you as you are to them.
Of course.
And so
yes.
now we have this world where no, everybody must be peaceful to me, but I can be as rude and loud
Yes.
as I want,
and sometimes violent.
and sometimes violent.
Yes.
We saw it that they were during that 2020 season, 2020, 2021, people were being, I don't want to say assaulted, but they were being accosted in restaurants and having a bunch of people just kind of, harass them. And
Yes.
just random people being harassed in restaurants.
Absolutely.
And it was deemed acceptable protesting. But it's not. It's not.
No way.
Now, we are talking about actions having consequences tonight. And, this is about actions haven't had consequences, but maybe there are actions here in the nation's capital that may have some consequences, or may not. And I think Richard Fields has something to say about the potential next impeachment. So let's hear what Richard has to say.
Okay.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has finally opened an impeachment inquiry. It's tasked with drawing articles of impeachment against President Joe Biden. This is the third impeachment effort in the last two presidential terms. The unanimous chorus from traditional and social media during the first two impeachment attempts, which were of Donald Trump, was that there almost certainly was evidence of Trump colluding with the Russians or the Ukrainians. The Mueller report and the impeachment effort failed to discover any such thing. This impeachment effort is being met by a unanimous chorus from traditional media and most social media, except X, formerly Twitter, that there is no evidence. Fancy that. Let's check that out. The president's son, Hunter Biden, was on the board of Burisma in Ukraine at $83,000 per month. Burisma was being looked into for money laundering. They wanted the prosecutor who was investigating them fired. After Joe Biden threatened withholding a $1 billion loan guarantee to Ukraine, the prosecutor was fired. During a December 2015 trip to Kyiv, Joe Biden said, "I looked at them and said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor is not fired, you're not getting the money." Then Biden infamously bragged about it to the Council on Foreign Relations. The video was still online. Oh, but that's just circumstantial. Republican investigators in the House have been trying to get copies of over 150 suspicious activities reports among Biden family members, SARs. The administration-controlled Treasury Department has stonewalled. SARs are reports that banks are required to report to the IRS for cash transactions over $10,000. My arithmetic tells me that 150 times $10,000 is serious money. More circumstantial evidence. A lot of the circumstantial evidence comes directly from Hunter Biden's discarded laptop. Joe Biden called the laptop a Russian disinformation ploy during the 2020 presidential debates. Now, Hunter is suing people for divulging information on the laptop, saying it invaded his privacy. I wonder which it is. A 3-judge panel on the 11th District Court of Appeals found the Biden administration to be illegally coercing social media to throttle or outright censor the laptop story, not to mention anything that contradicted with the administration's narrative on COVID or Ukraine, but that is also circumstantial. There's more, and it adds up to a lot of circumstances. The job of an impeachment inquiry is to see if there is fire where all that circumstantial smoke is. It's about time they started looking. Biden should be impeached and removed by the Senate. Of course, Trump also should have been impeached for violating Fifth Amendment property rights with the nonsensical COVID lockdowns. For some reason, the Democrats didn't think of that, probably because they put him up to it. And Obama, Bush 1, Bush 2, and Clinton should all have been impeached and removed for war crimes in the Middle East and Balkans. The only problem with impeachment is it puts even more reprehensible vice presidents in the Oval Office. Think Kamala Harris or Dick Cheney and shudder. I'm Richard Fields with reports from the fields.
Well, Richard had a lot to say about this impending impeachment of Joe Biden there, and this tit for tat of impeachments, we warned him about. We warned people about this when it was going to happen with Donald Trump. You said, what's going to happen is that they're just going to find anything. And of course, we've got Biden, who's got a laundry list of things to look into.
He does. So, believe me.
But of course, the reality is anybody who gets to be president is going to have a laundry list of things to get through, because in order to get that kind of power, you have to have stepped on a few toes. And I think that's, unless there is options, you can vote for a libertarian for president, and you could get around some of that.
Get around some of that.
At least some of that, because some of us, we're not all pure and as the Rangers know either. So you got a quick comment on this pending impeachment?
Yeah. The unfortunate thing about all of this, yes, you're absolutely right. We're going to see a lot of tit for tat going on and that kind of stuff. I mean, if you remember, Donald Trump was impeached. His first impeachment was because of a telephone call he made to the president of Ukraine. And now we have Biden on video talking about using taxpayer dollars to force him to fire some prosecutor in Ukraine. I mean, I think that is far more egregious. And to me, it will be interesting how this all go down. But you are right about this tit for tat, because now that the Republicans control the House of Representatives, they're going to go after Biden. Once the Democrats get back in power, they're going to go after whoever the Republican is, and this is going to go on. The problem I'm having here is that impeachment was supposed to be something that was rare, and it was really for something where there's abuse of power or bribery or some sort of things like that. But now it's becoming so regular now.
Then now it's just a political card to play.
Like a political card to play, exactly. And
yeah,
this is nothing that if the founders intended.
No, well, it shows the lack of seriousness that our legislators have, our alleged representatives have. They just aren't very serious. But let's talk about something else that's not very serious. Chicago. Yeah. Chicago has decided that, we've run all of our grocery stores and the super centers out of town because of, our economics and our rampant crime and all this various stuff. So we're going to solve that problem by creating our own grocery store. I mean, Chicago can't run its own city, and they somehow think that they can manage to run a grocery store out of this thing. And what evidence do they have that they can run a grocery store? Can someone show me anything? just a little bit of evidence that these people can run a grocery store effectively. Please.
The one thing I'll tell you is that if you love the DMV, you're gonna love this proposal. Okay, because could you imagine the government is going to be in charge of the distribution and the effective functioning of our groceries? Could you imagine this happening? Is it where have we ever seen the government put their hands on something and it turned out to be good? It just does not happen. Okay, so like I said, if you like the DMV, you're going to love this. I mean, wherever the government goes, wherever they go, and they put their hand on something, they produce one thing and they produce a lot of it. They are very good at producing this, and that is misery. Well, and that is what's going to happen here.
Oh, I know. And the activists are going to get involved, so they're going to buy a bunch of stuff that no one's going to want. And,
exactly.
Yes. And it's going to sit there, and then they're not going to buy the stuff that people actually want to buy that are quick and easy. And it's not so good for you, but it's quick and easy. I don't have time or the skills or the desire to want to learn to cook, right? So instead, you're going to get a bunch of stuff that no one's going to want. They're going to get a bunch of food waste and a bunch of expenses. And we just remind me, these are the people who can't fill potholes properly.
Exactly.
And we're expecting them. And this is the second time I brought up potholes, but the pothole is something that's very simple to fix, and we can't fix them. And running a grocery store is actually quite complicated.
Yeah. So they can't fix the potholes, but they're going to create a lot of empty bellies, obviously, because they're not going to be able to run a supermarket any better than they run the DMV.
Well, here's my question: are they actually going to, prevent people from shoplifting from their supermarket? Or
That's an interesting point. That's an interesting point. I wonder if smash and grabs are going to stop just because the government don't run the stores.
Well, now you're violating government policy, so they might go after people violating government policy, Leon. There is that chance. Okay, we're going to move on again. California legislature is passing a slew of YIMBY reforms, is what they're calling it. It's essentially they're going to force all these cities where they came from after they passed all these policies that limit housing ability to build houses. Now that they become state legislatures, they're going to pass laws that are going to override all those laws that they passed while they were in city councils and county government. So essentially these people are, we broke everything, so now we're going to try to fix it with more regulation. Yeah, we broke everything with regulation, so now we're going to fix it with more regulation.
You could always count on the government, especially the government of the state government of California, to always mess up everything, create misery, as we just said, and then they're going to come along and say, I'm the good guy. I'm going to solve this problem for you guys. And the thing about this is this building affordable housing. I always wonder what the hell that mean. I mean, who's going to be paying for this affordable housing other than the taxpayers? I mean, come on. You mess up the things with all your regulations, and you have a pile of regulation, environmental regulation, this regulation and that regulation, and now we have learned our lesson. Now we're going to fix it now.
Yeah.
Right? Well, we're going to fix it now.
For what is it? 20, 25 years now. They've been going, we're going to pass all these laws. It's just a few dollars to more on your house. It's just a few dollars to more for your house. It's only going to cost a few more dollars. Well, now 20 years after, just a few more bucks, everything's unaffordable. Yes. And they're going, all right, we don't know what happened. That damn capitalism.
Yes.
Those dang landlords.
They always blame capitalism, or they're exploiting this one, they're exploiting that one. And when these people looking for campaign contributions, where do they go? To businesses. The people who are in the free market, the people who are trying to make a living in the capitalist markets that we have here in the United States, that's where they go. But they always blame capitalism for the mess that they create. It's so funny.
And where does everybody get? I mean, even the unions, they get their money based upon capitalism, right?
Yes.
Unless you're a government union. But even them they get their money from capitalism.
Well, they have to the taxpayers. That's where the taxpayers pay their money. They work in the capitalist markets.
And let's remember, the end consumer pays all costs. So
absolutely.
Anybody who can pass costs on will. And because why wouldn't you? Of course you do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not even greed. It's just what you have to do.
And I always tell people, they always get, when Bernie Sanders or one of them come along and say, we're going to tax these corporations and we're going to tax this and tax that. There are 4 groups of people who pay for everything in society. Employees, taxpayers, ratepayers, and I forget one of these, 4 of them. That pay for everything in society. The end consumers of products, those are the people who pay for everything. Because just like you said, anybody could pass along their cost, they will.
Yeah.
That's how they stay in business.
And the people who can't are wage workers.
Exactly.
Right, it's the ones who can't.
Yes.
And speaking about ones who can't, we're going to move on. AOC was at a rally supporting immigrants in New York City, and the New York City residents were not happy with her.
Not at all.
No, they kind of shouted her down, kind of. I don't want to say rushed her out of there, but they kind of rushed her out of there. She kind of cut her thing a little short, and she kind of made it. I didn't say she ran scared, but she didn't stick around very long. She didn't stick around at the party, and so the New York is not happy. These are the places who had their sanctuary cities, and we're sitting there wagging their finger at those towns on the borders. But now when a handful of them essentially show up on their doorsteps, now, we don't have the room. We can't deal with it. We can't. Well, yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
And I want to make it clear. I here support actually relatively open borders, right? You come in, you get your paperwork, and you move through. The thing is, they need to be allowed to work, and we're not allowing them to work. And so if they're not allowing them to work, or what are we doing? Why are we're just, again, I was going to say a word I'm not allowed to say. So we are pulling one over on the average taxpayer, and they're finally starting to get upset with it.
I wish we had more time to talk about this topic, because there's so much to unpack in this whole thing, okay? The Democrats are not opening the borders here because they care about these people, okay? These people they're now calling migrants. I used to know them as illegal immigrants, okay, which they are. They don't care about these people. They care about the votes that these people could potentially bring to them. Every child that is born here in the United States are going to become American citizens and will vote down the road. That is what they care about. I mean, it may sound all nice and, oh, we have to care about these people. We have to try to get them to work and blah, 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 and all kinds of stuff. That is what is going on. They are giving these people the land of the free is becoming the land of free stuff. And this is a real problem. And these cities like New York City and some of these other places, there's many of them here in California also, oh, we are sanctuary cities. And they were morally superior to the rest of us who saying this is nonsense. And now that they live in their policies, now they have to live with it. All of a sudden, they realize, you know something? This thing really costs money. Oh my goodness gracious, all this free stuff that we want to give away, it costs money.
Yeah,
okay?
They're virtue signaling with somebody else's money.
Exactly.
And the minute it comes down to their doorstep, they're trying to live their ideal, the alleged ideals, but they're not workable. That's the problem. Their ideals aren't workable. And rather than going, okay, so how do we deal with this in a realistic way? How do we either limit the number of people who are coming over the border, or remove some of the barriers that are not allowing these people to work and take care of themselves? There's two options there, right? You can either remove the barriers so allow people can take care of themselves, or you've got to prevent them from coming in at such a high level. Right?
Well, James, I have a personal problem here. I mean, and I hope I can quickly speak to it. It took me 16 years to become an American citizen, okay? I am not suggesting that everyone should have to go through what I went through to become an American citizen. I'm not suggesting it should be 16 years. No, I think that's too long. It's way too long, okay? Mm-hmm. However, I think we are a country of laws, and I think the rule of law have to rule, but I see we are out of time.
And the rule of law is we are out of time. Thank you, Leon. Thank you, Leon. Thanks to everybody inside working hard in there tonight, and thank you for watching. From me and Leon, please remember to love everybody and have a good night.
Yes, indeed.